Today on Four on the Floor, Michael Jackson, media victim or master manipulator? And celebrity scandals, do they make or break a career? With Jon Pareles of the New York Times.
Walk used to be about rebellion.
It's obnoxious. Commercial crap and
Classic, really offensive. Beautiful. Great rhythm section. And
never liked them.
Great guitar player.
Always have hated.
Hype. The monster bass player. Revolutionized.
I get mediocre music.
Intact. All crap and
Two big thumbs up.
Hi, I'm Anthony DeCurtis. Michael Jackson has never had a problem getting media attention, but now that media attention itself has turned into a problem. Can Michael survive his own hype? He's the most successful artist in the history of pop.
Who's bad?
First time he went behind the mic and he started to sing, I got goosebumps on my arms. I was like, this is Michael Jackson.
But lately, this master of the media game has been hounded by rumors and scandals.
You know, I think that the king of pop and the king of hype naturally go hand in hand.
History was supposed to put the past behind him, but its sluggish sales have only raised questions about his future.
And I think we all anticipated Michael riding the top of the charts for, 30 weeks at #1 or something, and that's just not happening.
Has Michael Jackson lost control of the same publicity machine that raised him to pop royalty? Or can Michael work his magic once again and bring his music back to center stage?
Michael Jackson, whatever he does next, is going to be surprising.
To discuss Michael Jackson at the crossroads, we've assembled our normal amazing panel, consisting of J.D. Considine from the Baltimore Sun and a contributor to Rolling Stone, music writer Amy Linden, who writes for the New York Daily News and the San Francisco Chronicle, Scott Poulson-Bryant, who's a senior writer for Vibe magazine, and our special guest from the New York Times, their chief pop music critic, Jon Pareles. Jon, do you think we've reached a point with Michael now where the hype and all of the hoopla has totally overwhelmed the music?
Well, I mean, history wasn't supposed to work this way. It was supposed to like split the difference. It was like this complaint about media hype and this maximally hyped $30 million hype project. And at this point, I think Michael Jackson's more interesting as a tabloid event than he is as a musician. He's a great musician. But what's in those songs is the media. You might as well just go to the media directly.
Cut the middleman out.
Exactly.
Really, like, leave the consumer out of it. Why bother them?
Well, I agree with you, and I think actually what's even stranger is the way that the videos he's been making sort of undermine what the songs on the lyric sheet seem to be about, and sort of emphasizes media. I mean, this current video for "You Are Not Alone," basically, although the song is like, "You are not alone, I'm always here to love you," what the video seems to say is, "You are not alone, I am alone." And it's
but let's remind everybody though, as we're talking about Michael, I mean, that is a song that's entered the charts at number one.
Right.
It's a good song. It's a really good song. It's a really good song.
That video is going to drive people away, though.
Well, yeah, so that's my point. I mean, the thing is I think Michael is succeeding to a degree almost in spite of himself. It's like you'd almost wish that someone would whisper in his ear and say, "Look, Michael, you're just making people dislike you more."
Well, I mean, that's what Jon was saying, though. I mean, that's the thing about Michael Jackson is that it's, we've discussed him like ad nauseum on this show, but his talent ultimately, whether it be his talent, at this point it's his talent as a singer, I think that's, because his skills as a songwriter, especially on this record, are really not up to par, but his talent as a singer is really what's making him compelling musically, though I would agree with you.
He makes great rhythm tracks too. I mean, one of the things that got me when I saw the Primetime Live thing was when he was sitting in the studio and he started human drum machining along with the whole. He knew where every he knew where every accent was. And then that's all in his head. He's an amazing creature.
It's primarily as a lyricist where I think he's failing on this record. Well, and it's the problem with the lyrics that don't allow people into the record. And it's like it's all about his problems and how the world is after him and how the media is.
And these again are self-created problems.
People just don't care.
Really.
Is there a situation where, I mean, as a musician, in a sense, he is almost like a kind of traditional artist. I mean, somebody who's kind of come up through the ranks and almost feels like he's got to get the publicity machine going to get things, happening for himself.
He doesn't seem conscious enough of like the ultimate irony of what he's doing. He can't keep calling the media garbage and then like when he uses the media, like to get his word out all the time. Right. It's like he has to find some alternative, Michael. You know, you can't have it both ways.
Actually, my favorite thing was when he called the media stupid larva. But
in the cyber chat.
Yeah, in the cyber chat. But I mean, you know, the thing.
Stupid larva to you, Mr. Jackson.
But the thing is,
let's show some respect.
The point Scott's making, I think, is really valid because you take a song like Billie Jean. I think everyone has at some point or another been in a relationship where there's some emotional thing that scares you about the other person liking you more than you like them, or you feeling trapped by that. But I mean, who among us here can really relate to a song like "They Don't Care About Us"? You know, where we're talking about how the media are going after everybody else. Who can relate to tabloid
But again,
junkie?
I mean, I think the problem though, I mean, the themes of paranoia and the themes of distrust wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the fact that every single problem Michael Jackson has, as far as I can figure out, is his own damn fault at this point. I mean, discounting supposedly this miserable childhood that he had, and like, get online, okay? But you know.
What about the cyber chat whole business?
You know, I was going to mention that because what you were saying about a lot of being his fault. There's a great line in the cyber chat where he talks about someone asked him how miserable was your childhood, and he goes on about it, all the stuff that he didn't have when he was a kid. And one of the things he says is that they didn't get birthday parties when they were kids, and then he wrote, "To this day, I have never celebrated my birthday." Now, I think Michael's got enough money for a cake at this point.
Go down to Carvel. Go to Carvel and get a Fudgy the Whale and be done.
Well, maybe when
he's a Jehovah's Witness.
right?
But he's not anymore. That's so. At a certain point, this does become self-punishing on his part, and you have to ask yourself why. What is he doing this for within himself, and why does he feel?
Well, self-punishing. I mean, without talking about the obvious. I mean, take a look at his face. I mean, that's self-punishing what he's doing.
John, do you feel like that Michael has really kind of set an unreasonable sort of like sales standard? I mean, we have a double album that's what sold 5 million copies worldwide or something. I mean, by anybody else, that would be an enormous success.
Yeah.
But Michael himself.
Well, I mean, that album had to sell. I mean, he put the insurance policy on it. He put the greatest hits on it. Lots of people don't have those hits on CDs, and would like. It's got a guaranteed sales in it. The idea that he has to keep selling more than his last album probably is one thing that's made him so odd.
The one way that I'm convinced that he is a victim is that the accident that was Thriller. He's definitely a victim of his own hype in that way. I mean, there's no way he's ever.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that happens to somebody once in a lifetime, if at all. I mean, to sell
why should he have
40
to sell
million
more?
records.
And he started to believe his own hype.
But the other thing, though, I mean, this record, because it's a double set and it was released in the summer, which is traditionally a soft time for sales, it'll probably wind up selling better in October, November, December as people get toward Christmas, because it's more of a Christmas present type thing for a lot of younger kids who don't have $30 to spend on one CD. But the other thing is that if you look at what were supposed to be the big releases this summer, a lot of them haven't done as well as expected. Pocahontas is not doing anywhere near as well as The Lion King did.
But I think fundamentally, though, I mean, I think what's telling about this record is I listened to it when we did our last show on Michael. I listened to it and I liked it, and I've listened to that record one time since then. It doesn't compel you, except for the greatest hits. It doesn't compel you. There are some good songs on this record, make no mistake, but it does not compel you to go back and listen to it again. And I'm a fan of his, and I've always been a fan of his, and I think fundamentally, he can rant and rave about the media and all this stuff. It's just musically not as strong as the hype would suggest it was going to be.
The whole point of History, in a sense, was to put everything behind him, and we've recently had a Vanity Fair article. Is he going to be continually sort of pursued by these charges, or is he going to be able to clear the slate?
Until they're disposed of. They haven't been disposed of yet.
Yeah. And it also is damaging to him to say things that are later refuted by people who would be in the position to refute them. Because Michael is the kind of person who has so long come across with this, I'm an innocent child, I'm honest, I just open my heart to the whole world. And for him to be revealed as being manipulative and deceitful is really a lot more damaging than it would be if, say, David Bowie were caught in saying something that was untrue. Because
I mean, he's a kiddie artist. A big part of his sales is parents getting something nice for their kids, and with all this child molestation allegations, I mean, he doesn't seem like someone who's so nice to your kids anymore.
Right.
So what do we see in the future for him? What's going to happen? Is he going to continue to be a hugely successful artist? Is he going to be able to maintain that kind of commercial standard?
He needs to really scale down his expectations. I mean, that's easy for me to say. I'm not him, but again, we're talking about...
Or Epic Records.
Yeah, exactly. Can't really. I think that, again, he had one of the most amazing sales streaks of all time. He may never go back and do that again. and I just think he needs to concentrate more on his craft, and I was hoping that's what this record was going to be.
Right.
Was more the craft, because when he does sing, it's just amazing.
It's the whole problem of wanting to build this monument to himself, like the one on the cover of the album.
He has to remember he's a musician, not a phenomenon.
Yeah.
I think he thinks of himself as a phenomenon.
He needs to drop that King of Pop. I mean, it's become like an albatross now.
But it's like Napoleon. I mean, you know, Elvis Presley was sort of became king. Napoleon, and Michael Jackson, like Napoleon, made himself, crowned himself, and I think that kind of hubris is going to work against you.
Well, you know, controversy can help as well as hurt artists, and after a break, we're going to take a look at who it helps and who it hurts and where they go from there. So stay with us.
Intact.
There. Two big thumbs up.
Walk used to be about rebellion.
It's a commercial crap.
Great rhythm section, and
Never liked them.
great guitar player.
Always hate it.
Welcome back to Four on the Floor. Part of the problem with celebrity is that everybody watches what you do, and sometimes you're not doing what you should be. Controversy isn't always a bad thing, though, as long as they spell your name right. Scandal. It's the surest sign of celebrity.
What the hell were you thinking?
And a staple of rock and roll. From Michael Jackson and Madonna to Axl Rose and Sinead O'Connor.
I knew it would cause trouble. I didn't know quite how much trouble it would cause, but I must admit I'm quite pleased.
It feeds the press.
Saying that we're better or greater, or comparing us with Jesus Christ as a person, or God as a thing, or whatever it is. You know, I just said what I said and it was wrong, or was taken wrong.
And fires up the fan.
Just give me something I can use. People love it when you lose. They love dirty laundry.
It can kill a career.
It's just great balls of fire.
Or create a sensation. And sometimes it's even engineered. But who does it help? And when does it hurt?
Really, my only crime was getting caught.
The public loves to forgive more than anything. And one thing they love to do is to sort of knock a celebrity down and then bring them back.
And if the music's good, why do we care? John, we just visited the School for Scandal here. I mean, who graduates with a degree and who gets sent to detention? I mean, why does scandal help some people and hurt others?
Well, I mean, I think the idea is that we expect our artists to live out our fantasies, and so if they live out the right fantasy, if they live out the fantasy that goes with their music, we sort of give them credit. And if they live out the wrong fantasy, if Axl Rose turns out to be a secret accountant, then then
You'd surely be disappointed.
He's out of there.
Right.
So scandal helps, scandal hurts. It depends on whether you stroke your basic following while offending everybody else, or whether you offend your basic following while being a nut.
You know, it's sort of almost like better too. I mean, as long as you're sorry for what you do, that's always helpful as well.
Well, that's the great American, I think part of our bedrock American Protestant heritage that you can sin.
Your American Protestant heritage.
No, not my Protestant.
Okay, my American Protestant.
I'll take it. There's this whole notion that it's all right to be a sinner if you admit to being a sinner and tell everyone that you are sorry for your sins. I mean, do the whole Jimmy Swaggart routine, crying on television and so forth and so on. I mean, I think the people who really get the most grief are those who appear to have sinned and flat out deny it until they're absolutely proven to have done it, and still, I mean, and I think this is getting back to Michael Jackson. Part of the problem with his thing is that I think if Michael admitted that he's, for example, he spends too much time with children, that and just left it at that, I think people would give him a lot more leeway than they do now, where he seems to say, no, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this.
Yeah, that's part of the whole like machinery and press now. So you have to, like, it's obligatory to join like a 12-step program of some sort. I mean, it used to be like anonymous, and now you know like everybody who's in these things. It's, you know.
Right, as you said before, they've taken the anonymous out of Alcoholics Anonymous.
The first step is write a press release.
Right. You know, they thank, and when you start getting like albums, and the probation officer and the drug counselor are thanked before Jesus, you know something's really desperately wrong. No, I mean, I think scandal helps. Obviously, I mean, Tupac, it didn't hurt Tupac's career any. I mean, he went number one.
It was like almost a badge of authenticity.
Well, I mean, you know, in certain kinds of music. I mean, and I think in hip hop and heavy metal. I mean, again, if Tupac had been busted for like picking flowers in a park, that would have been like a really bad thing for him.
If you're not a bad boy, you're not the real thing.
Right, exactly. So I mean, I think he sort of got like caught in his own sort of bravado. I think though that there's a huge difference as far as scandal goes between, you know, a Hugh Grant, you know, I mean, whatever Hugh Grant, I don't really care, you know what I mean? I mean, that's Hugh Grant and his girlfriend's problem. What Hugh Grant does and what an Axl Rose is alleged of doing, which is beating somebody up, I mean, I really think that that's not scandal, that's criminal behavior, you know.
John, I personally heard you denounced on stage by Axl Rose.
That was nice of the guy.
Something we all aspire
but all I did was
to,
write a
actually.
bad
I was
review.
insane with jealousy. But, I mean, do you think it's ever going to become unfashionable to attack the press after your,
it's great. I mean, shoot the messenger. I mean, that's classic American too. Shoot us all. You know, I mean, it's a lot easier to lash out at, oh, the press is persecuting me, than say, you know, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe my last record was terrible. Maybe my concert was boring. You know, the problem is nobody tells these people no. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, Michael Jackson. You know, when that album came out, I was listening to "They Don't Care About Us," and I heard the word "kike me," and I said, "Whoa, did he say that?" And then he sang it again. And I thought, I called up Sony. I said, you know, do you have lyrics on this? They faxed me lyrics, and there it was. I mean, Sony's legal department. Nobody had told Michael Jackson, Michael, are you sure you want to use the word "kike"?
Well, what about, I mean, if a word like that was on a rap record or something, though, would it have been as shocking?
Well, it would have been a shocking.
There would have been a parental discretion advisory
Exactly.
sticker on the cover of the CD if there was.
And also, no rapper's presenting himself as the Pied Piper of pop.
And just also remember the amount of grief that Ice Cube got for No Vaseline.
Right.
Which you know was also accused of being anti-Semitic.
And Axl Rose got for the song
One in a Million.
And I mean, the thing is that at least, I mean, basically, Ice-T said it's a personal beef between me and Jerry Heller. And you know, Axl Rose made whatever apology he made. None of them came out and said, but yes, but all my best friends are Jews, like my lawyers and accountants.
That was a great moment in television, I have to say.
But I think you get into this bit where you're a superstar, and like anything that comes out of your mind, you think is automatically golden.
But I think you're exactly the point, though, where they don't say no. I mean, you know, we've all dealt with artists where we're supposed to interview them or something, and they just show up whenever the hell they feel like showing up. And I'm like, well, isn't that special? You can just, I would like to show up for my job 6 hours late and like, oh, my beeper wasn't on.
But Amy, they're always on time for me.
Oh, well.
No, just kidding.
That's because your own punctuality sets a standard for the rest of us, not to mention the world at large.
That's right, your sartorial, everything. But I'm just saying that there is that sense that these are, like, in a lot of ways, these are children, and these are children that are making a tremendous amount of money for people. And so, you know, I have publicists saying, well, you know, I think when he was accused of raping that person, I think it was more of, it's like, you can be a bad person.
Communication breakdown.
Right, yeah. Right. You can be a bad person and be a good artist, you know?
The one thing I will have to say.
Do we want to know if they're a bad person, though?
Well, yeah.
Depends what kind of bad they're doing. I want to know when someone is beating up somebody.
You know, I think this is specifically also a problem in rock and roll, you know, interpreted broadly. I mean, there's a sense in which, you know, you never expect an actor or something necessarily to live out the parts of their characters, where you really do believe that, you know, a musician is supposed to be what they purport to be.
And this is what, I mean, you're right, because so much of rock and roll in the pretty much post-Bob Dylan era has been self-expression, and that has been defined the authenticity of the artist's performance. And what's really been a problem historically is people like Keith Richards, because Keith Richards has an abnormally high tolerance for drugs, alcohol, and hard living. And for years, there are a lot of people who figured the way to be a great rock and roll guitarist is to shoot heroin and smoke dope and drink Jack Daniels.
And look what happened to Johnny Thunders.
Exactly. Not everyone can survive, and even Keith Richards himself has said, not everyone
which
can
brings
survive.
us to the point that possibly the only better career move than Scandal is dying. We'll come back from the break, and we'll discuss what's on our critics' minds and what they've been listening
Speaking
to.
of death, is that what
Really offensive.
Great rhythm section. And
Never liked them.
Great guitar player. Great rhythm section. And
Never liked them.
Great guitar player.
Always hip.
He's a monster bass player.
Revolutionized.
I get mediocre music.
Almost intact. All crap and
Two big thumbs up.
Welcome back to Four on the Floor. Now we're at that part of the show where we talk about what's on our minds and what we've been listening to, beginning with J.D. Considine.
Well, what I've been listening to is the new Pet Shop Boys album, Alternative. And it's called Alternative not because it's alternative rock, but because it's a collection of all their B-sides, that is, the alternative tracks. And it's amazing because it goes everything. They do a Kurt Weill cover. They do Why Mankind Survives, and everything up to a terrific song about Italian youth called Pananero. It's a fun record, and as with most Pet Shop Boys, really smart.
Scott.
Smart is the word for what I'm listening to. I'm listening to Morrissey. Maybe not so much smart as
we're hyping
savvy.
those Brits today.
those Brits, okay?
We feel bad for them.
Anglophile that I am. Produced by Steve Lillywhite. He used to do U2 records. And it's a slightly bigger sound from Morrissey. Not much different than his other stuff, but still, quirky and silly and
excellent.
My cup of tea.
Amy?
Well, I believe in keeping American musicians employed, you
Very
traitors.
Good. Very good.
I don't want our music going to Taiwan and Mexico.
Exactly.
I'm going to talk about Jim Lauderdale's new record. It's called Every Second Counts. It's coming out in September, but you should start lining up now to buy it. And this is his third album, and he's just a really great songwriter. And it's not that he's doing anything particularly different. He's just, when you hear a really good song, it's just really a pleasure. And he also has an incredibly soulful voice. He's considered a country artist. I don't know why. I suppose because he's from a country. I don't know why he's considered a country artist. But he's very, very good, and he's just smart and soulful, and I recommend this record highly.
Jon Pareles.
Well, we're going offshore again. Cesarea Evoria. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. She is from the Cape Verde Islands, which I didn't know until I got this record. Are off the coast of Senegal. She's 54. She lives in Paris now. She's got one of these deep, sort of melancholy, languorous, beautiful voices. You just want to dive in and stay under. And the songs, they have a kind of a Brazilian feeling. They're very mournful, they're very melancholy, they're very dignified. It's a beautiful record.
And back to the States for the new Ricky Lee Jones record, which is called Naked Songs. It's live, acoustic, very beautiful. And on that note, thanks to Jon Pareles for joining us today.
Thanks.
And thank you for joining us on Four on the Floor.
I'm going to wear Union Jack next week.
That's right. We're all going to eat like steak and eggs.
Right,